Hi everyone, my name is Monique.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we're going to be talking about GenCon. Have you heard of it?
Of course, it's the largest board game convention in the United States, very similar to Essen Spiel in terms of how big it is. And so we are really looking forward to GenCon 2024.
Yes, this is happening next week. And for those of you who have never heard of GenCon before, by the way, this is kind of the first stop for game releases of the year. And then the rest of the games get released at Essen Spiel, which happens a little bit later. So today we are going to be talking about some games that we are anticipating at GenCon. But before we do, you can kind of consider this to be our summer vlog because we do have a couple of things to discuss. The first thing is our Vladimir Suchy series.
Yes.
So some people may have seen that we posted a picture about a week and a half ago or something mentioning that we are starting our series, and we were supposed to, but just as an update, as we were preparing the series, we realized that upon unboxing our first game, which is Shipyard, someone may or may not have thrown away some of the components that we needed. So we're not going to be able to get those components back.
Yeah.
But it did sort of set us back because we started, learning the game, and also we hadn't played the first edition of Shipyard, and the second edition rulebook is difficult to really nail down, these specific rules for certain parts of the game.
Yeah, so I'll be the one to admit, I threw away components that you're supposed to keep. If you have this second edition of Shipyard, be very careful if you have not unboxed it. Basically, hang on to everything until you absolutely know, because things that look like punchboard, the scraps, the periphery of punchboard, are actually not trash. So just be aware of that.
Those components that were thrown, they do not play a significant role in the game. So the true reason why the video is a little bit delayed is because we were having difficulty learning it. If you have not played the first edition of the game, then like I was mentioning, some of the rules are unclear. Long story short, I semi-rage quitted on our experience. And it is just going to require us to do a little bit more research on the game before releasing the video. And by the way, there is some gardening going on outside, so apologies if you can kind of hear that. But other than that, we did have a few setbacks in our schedule because I think we mentioned in a previous video that we did have a hard drive failure a couple of weeks ago that is having an unfortunate trickle-down effect. And for anybody who was affected by the recent blue screen of death, our hearts go out to you because that was quite a big catastrophe.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, Naveen's work has also been affected, which is causing a lot of stress on his part.
My parents have been trapped in Philadelphia for about 4 days extra. They could not get on a flight, and they finally just got onto a flight today.
Yeah. So I mean, they're in a bit of a fortunate position because they weren't, necessarily stranded. But for a lot of people, that's not the case. So for anyone out there who is currently being affected, we hope you get through it quickly. And because of that, we are most likely going to just start the Suchy series truly when GenCon is over. All right, so then moving on, we were going to give you a Dexter update, but I just tried to coax him out from under the table.
He's standing pat.
He's chilling.
Yeah.
He's on a warm blanket and in the summer of all things, but
Doesn't matter to him.
He's uninterested. So just know that Dexter is thriving. He's in his older years.
13th year?
13 now.
Yeah.
But he's doing great.
So now moving on to GenCon. It'll be held August 1st through the 4th in Indianapolis, and we are going to be in attendance this year.
Yes, this is our second time ever going to GenCon. And so we'll be there the entire time. We're going to be wandering the halls. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I am.
It's going to be a very busy, very, very, very busy few days. And I think the weather's going to be not too bad.
Much better than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. When we went last time, it was sweltering.
Pretty hot, yeah.
And this time around, it seems like it'll be cooler. If you'll be there, make sure you take care of yourself while you're at a convention. Drink plenty of water, bring comfortable shoes to walk in.
Shoes. Oh, yeah.
Take lots of breaks. And we hope you have a wonderful time. And so today, as promised, we are going to be discussing 10 games that we are anticipating, or that we're excited, I suppose, that will be releasing at GenCon, or were otherwise on the GenCon preview list on BGG. So, of course, we have a few disclaimers before we start the list. The first one being we did not include any games on our list that are demo only. Mm-hmm. So if you sort by demos on the BGG list, then we did not include those games. We're also not including any games that we have covered on our channel or are planning on covering. So this includes games such as Let's Go to Japan, Windmill Valley,
Pampero, Reef Project, River of Gold is also another one.
Ironwood, Gnome Hollow, and that's just to name a few. Mm-hmm. So you won't see those games on this list. And this time we have 4 honorable mentions because they are mainly games that were on our previous list.
Yeah, so our most anticipated games coming out in 2024, we did not want to copy any of those over onto this GenCon list.
Yes, you want to be able to name as many games as possible. So they are Rock Hard 1977, Cafe Barras, Cities, as well as the 4th game, which is Lata.
Lata, yes.
So Lata is a game designed by Costa and Rolla, and it's published by Pythagoras, but I believe the one that's going to be at GenCon is published by Mayfair. Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with a game called Cafe, we've actually covered it on our channel before. This is a follow-up to that, and we loved Cafe.
We did, yeah.
So we are very excited to try out Lata, and we actually have a copy of that as well, but we haven't played it yet.
Okay, so let's jump right into the list. Now, this is going to be a combined list of 10 for both of us, and we ranked it together. And so number 10 on our list, this is technically a re-implementation of an older game, one that I have not played, and it is called Middle Ages. This game is designed by Marc Andre, who, if you are familiar with his name, he also designed Splendor, and it's going to be published by Studio H. So I never played the original game, which is this is based off of, which is Majesty for the Realm, I think is what it's called. And this particular game is a tableau building, kind of engine building game where you are going to be trying to vie over various tiles that are kind of in a display, and you have 8 different spots or slots in your tableau that you're going to try to feed these tiles into. And essentially what you're going to be doing is once you feed a tile into one of those 8 slots, you get to activate the particular action that goes there, as well as attempt to score that particular slot. Each slot kind of feeds into a different one, so you're going to try to pair up like type things so that you can score the most amount of points. The game seems like it's snappy, quick, plays in what it says about 30 plus minutes, and those are always great for me.
Interesting. You know, I'm a big fan of tableau builders, but I feel like we don't get to play enough of them. So it's nice to hear this one re-implemented, but again, we haven't played it before. So if you've ever played the previous game, we would love to hear your thoughts. I think one of the ones back in the day that came out that I really enjoyed was a game called Deus.
Oh, yeah.
So if anybody out there is a fan of Deus, I feel like we're rare, but that's a fun tableau builder. All right, moving on to number 9. This is a game that we were interested in because of its unique theme. It's designed by Ivan Lashin and published by Hobby World, and it is called Neo Dreams. So just like Naveen is mentioning, you know, we don't know a whole lot about a lot of these games, so we're only going to know based off of the BGG entry, and we won't have any photos.
Sure.
But basically, in Neo Dreams, we are in the business of crafting and selling dreams. So this is definitely an alternate universe, or maybe far into the future, who knows? Because as of right now, from what I know, you can't do that.
Right.
And in general, each player is a CEO of their own company, and we're just trying to acquire the most amount of wealth by the end of the game. It features a unique twist on worker placement, I believe it says, but we're not quite sure how that works. But the designer has also designed games such as Furnace, as well as Smartphone Inc., both of which we have highly enjoyed in the past. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, number 8 on our list. Now, Monique and I are huge fans of deduction games and deduction style games, and this is one of those. Pretty much every single list is going to have one of these, I think, if it's available.
Yeah, I think they're coming out more and more.
More and
right?
more, yeah. So this one is designed by Johan Levitt as well as Fabienne Gradel, who both designed a Turing Machine. This is going to be published by Super Meeple, and it is called Chronologic Paris 1920. Now, it appears, based off the listings on BGG, that this is one of 3 games that are going to be coming out this year. So I'm not exactly sure if they're all going to flow into one another or they're going to be standalone kind of deduction puzzles that you're going to be doing. But essentially what you are is you're a detective trying to solve different mysteries, and so it's gonna, I think, borrow from a little bit of the Turing Machine style deduction. From what the BGG listing says is that there's going to be kind of like a perforated like check your answer thing. So I'm not sure if it's gonna have like a Turing Machine style thing, but they are the designers of that game, so it's possible. We really enjoy these kind of games. I don't want to look too much into it because deduction, I'm worried about spoilers.
What?
I don't know if there are going to be any spoilers, obviously, when you look it up, but I don't want to watch any videos if there are any out there just to give away anything.
I feel like with deduction games, the answers are always so
out there.
You have to,
I just don't know
to memorize it for it to get spoiled for you.
I just don't know if there's like a heavy narrative story base to it or not. So I'm trying to just explore it as I get it and then find out.
Sure.
So that is Chronologic Paris 1920.
All right, moving on to number 7. Speaking of deduction, our number 7 is a game designed by 2 different designers, and I believe it's going to be published by Capstone Games, and it's called Pagan Fate of Roanoke.
Yeah.
So the description on BGG says, Witch and Hunter duel for the fate of Roanoke in an asymmetrical deduction card game. And that sentence right there is why it's on the list.
The title alone is what got me intrigued by it. And then I saw, Capstone.
The cover,
cool. Yeah.
Had me further intrigued because witchy themes are very entertaining, I guess, interesting to me. And then just the fact that it's an asymmetric experience, which we both really enjoy. It's 2-player only, and it's deduction style. So I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. Now, one thing that I see here, though, is it is an expandable card game. And that has me a little bit concerned. I'm not quite sure what it means by expandable. We neither of us play, collectible card games, TCGs. I don't think we've ever played one before, which maybe is a mistake. Maybe we should try one at some point. But I don't know how that's going to apply to this game. But either way, I am really looking forward to checking it out.
Okay, number 6 on our list. This one is going to be published by Leader Games, and it is designed by Cole Worley, and it is a game called Arcs. Now, Arcs, there is a ton of content out there, but...
it is hot.
Very hot right now. Yeah. We have avoided pretty much all content on it because we want to formulate our own opinions on it because we will most likely be reviewing it sometime in the future. So from what we understand, it is a war game. Root is also a war game, but kind of in that cute artsy style. And this kind of shares that same art from Kyle Farron. And we heard there's trick-taking elements in the game. So we're interested to see how exactly trick-taking in a war game, kind of 90 to 120 minutes style, how does the trick-taking, keep going for that long?
From what for that long, this is a really long trick-taking game.
I don't know if it's just a tiny element.
From what I understand, the trick-taking determines the actions that you take.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's from what I understand. And I just wanted to read this because on their BGG listing, it says, Arcs is a sharp sci-fi strategy game for 2 to 4 players set in a dark yet silly universe.
And that is the art of Kyle Farron.
I'm all in for the silly universe. I wish they would implement more of that in themes in board games, but I'm really looking forward to it because of I feel like there's a bit of a dichotomy between silly yet serious because it's still a strategy game that you're trying to win, and you can play the base game or you can dive into the campaign mode. So we are going to try both and just see how it goes, and we're going to try playing at different player counts because like Naveen was mentioning, we hear it plays well at 2, and we would love to test that. All right, moving on to number 5. We are halfway there. This is another game that incorporates deduction. So there's a lot coming out this year.
Let's be honest.
It's designed by 4 different designers and published by Portal Games, and it is called AI Space Puzzle. So there's a lot of AI going on right now, but specifically in this game, the way that it's implemented is I believe we've been evacuated from Earth, and we need to use the ship's AI to try to survive. So I guess it's a fully cooperative game. One player plays as this distressed AI, and they're trying to create a communication system to direct players to the proper rooms and keys, I believe. So it's a scenario-based game, and that's about all I know.
Okay.
But I am really curious. We're going to need more than the 2 of us, I think, for this to really shine. But I would really love to see how deduction is implemented here.
This sounds very similar to another game that's coming out called Landmarks. Landmarks is from Floodgate Games. So this is not on our list, but it kind of piggybacks off of that. And Landmarks is a game where you are basically stranded on an island and you have limited communication via a radio.
Yes.
Where one player is going to be the radio communicator, and they are only going to be able to communicate with one word.
Yes.
And you're trying to help your teammates navigate around the island to find your way to evacuate. So We actually have a review copy of it right here, Landmarks from Floodgate Games.
We've played this before. This is a game I believe that's also coming out at GenCon, but because we played it, we didn't include it on the list. If you're familiar with a game called Shadows Amsterdam, where you are basically trying to race to move around a board Dixit style, this is similar in the moving mechanism, except you're using words. So for people who enjoy word games, you may want to look into it.
And everybody's on the same team here versus Shadows Amsterdam. There's that pressure of who's going to finish
two
first.
Two teams, going against each other.
Yeah, so that's another reason why this was not on the list, but a reason why AI Space Puzzle was on our list. Number 4 on our list, this is another installment in the Garfield games. They put out so many different games. This is S.J. McDonald as well as Shem Phillips. And this is Ezra and Nehemiah. So this game is beige Euro. If you have not seen images of it, the box art's beige, which is probably here right now, and also the board. So go on BGG if you like beige Euros. This one will definitely be up your alley because
Naveen does.
I definitely do. That's why it is in the top half of this list. They put out so many medium weight Euro games or medium to medium heavy games.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but every single time I get to play one of them, I am always infatuated by them. I think they're really, really fun.
They're very well produced, and they always have something in them that's imaginative, right?
Yeah.
Like something that's like, that's new, at least in the last few, right? Or even if they utilize a mechanism that's commonly used, there's still some kind of wrinkle in there that sets it apart, right?
Yeah. So this one, what you're trying to do in this game is you're trying to rebuild the temple, you're trying to build city walls, and also do some teachings of the Torah. There is tech trees, tracks, multi-use cards. So all these things are very Euro, very beige, and very much so in my wheelhouse. So that is one that I'm definitely looking forward to playing.
All right, moving on to number 3. The next title in our list is not beige. This is a game designed by Isaac Shalev and Jason Slingerland and published by Grand Gamers Guild. And it is called Tir na Nog. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because this is a game that is based off of Irish mythology. So in Irish mythology, Tir na Nog is the land of the other world. And the description on BGG is beautiful. It is the place where the fairies lived and heroes visited on quests. It was a place just outside the realm of man, off to the west, where there was no illness or death or time, but only happiness and beauty.
Sounds nice.
So that sounds beautiful. The game itself looks beautiful. And it also sounds fairly simple, but also potentially pretty thinky, because there is a mix of card drafting as well as worker placement, where you're going to be putting out your storytellers amongst a grid of cards, and then you're going to be drafting cards and eventually playing them out into a tableau to score. It's very quick playing, it sounds like, less than an hour.
Yeah, 30 to 45 minutes.
And it's just an interesting combination of mechanics and art. We were actually considering covering this when it was out on crowdfunding, but we weren't able to at the time. And since then, it's always been sort of in the back of our minds. So now we're curious about its retail release.
Okay, we are at the penultimate choice here. This is number 2 on our list. Now, this one, now that we think about it, was probably on a previous list, not one that was considered for the most anticipated of 2024.
It might have been.
I think it might have been for like Essen of last year, but we actually never got to play it, never got to see it, and it looks like it's finally going to be for sale here in the US. And this one is Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. It has multiple designers, and it's going to be published by Mondu Games. And this one is kind of a spin-off of the 2-player only trick-taking game Jekyll versus Hyde. Now, in this one, it's apparently a cooperative experience where you're going to be taking on the roles of Jekyll and Hyde, and you're trying to avoid capture from Scotland Yard. Other than that, I don't really know how it changes too much, but we really, really enjoy that 2-player only trick-taking Jekyll versus Hyde, and so I am super excited to finally get this one played.
It's really hard to do 2-player trick-taking well. You know, I think a lot of people attempt it because it can be done, but it's difficult too. And I really enjoyed Jekyll and Hyde, or Jekyll versus Hyde.
Versus Hyde, yeah.
And now this is a cooperative trick-taker. And, you know, games such as The Crew created sort of a positive experience for cooperative trick-takers. So that plus the theme, really, really excited about it.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to the final game on our list. This is our number 1. It is a game designed by 3 designers, one of which is Alexander Pfister. And we've done an entire Pfister series, so you know that this is probably going to be related to one of those games. But now this is also designed, including 2 other designers, Ralph Beinert as well as Ryan Hendrickson, and it is called Pirates of Maracaibo. This is a game that's going to be published by Capstone Games, and we've been anticipating it for a while because I think it was announced a year and a half ago, something like that. It is a standalone game in the same franchise as Maracaibo, but apparently it's a lot more accessible to learn and get into. So if you've never played Maracaibo before, this is a heavy game designed by Alexander Pfister that we both really, really enjoyed. It has a campaign mode to it. We still have our copy, and we are looking forward to the day that we get to play it again. But this apparently is much easier to get into. And one of our really good friends, Jennifer, has played this game before and speaks very highly of it. And we really trust her taste in games. She's a veteran, yes, in the industry. So it says the game plays in 40 to 100 minutes, and it's best at 3. I don't know how much that's been tested, so we'll have to see how that goes.
Not a big fan of the wideness of that, the width of that time frame. So I'm not exactly sure if it's more players means more time. Probably. Right?
Yeah. With such a big range. Yeah. An upper limit of 100 minutes, though, is pretty good because Maracaibo itself is can be a pretty long game. 2+
hours,
depending on how people play around the table. And this one is very card-based, just like Maracaibo is, but this one has multi-use cards, etc. I'm very curious to see what the similarities are and just how streamlined that rule set is.
Yeah, because sometimes, you get the card game, and it's lives up to it, or sometimes you're like, wow, that was really good. So from what we've been told by some of our friends that have played it is that they really enjoyed it, and actually they prefer it over Maracaibo.
And that's a
huge
statement.
So for us, that's kind of like, whoa, we really got to check this one out.
And there you go. Those are 10 games that we are highly anticipating at GenCon. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. We've named quite a few more games, more than 10. And there are going to be a lot more games, I'm sure, that we'll run into while we're at the convention.
I think the list on BGG is like 540 plus games.
Yeah, there are so many games that come out every year, and there is no reality where we'll ever be able to play them all.
Sure.
So we will do our best to sort of dive into the games that we're really interested in while we're there. And hopefully we can produce some content detailing our experiences at the convention. So that's it for now. If you are going to be attending GenCon, please let us know in the comments below what the games that you are most looking forward to checking out are, and what events
or
what
are we sleeping on? There's got to be something in there.
Yeah, what are those gems, right? And for anybody who's been to GenCon several times, do you have any recommendations, any pointers, just in case anybody watching will be attending GenCon maybe for the first time? Then you can kind of peruse the comments section and learn from others who are way more experienced than we are.
Well, there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.